It's time for your business updates now. Cash-strapped consumers are hoping to withdraw some of their pension money while working. Won't be able to do so, it seems, until next year.
Yeah, that's right. The National Treasury making that very clear. So what are the implications? Why this decision? Why now? ENCA business editor Devin Merrigan joining us for more on this. Hello to you, Devin. So all to do with a decision made by the former finance minister that's going to have implications down the road.
Exactly that. I mean, he said just about last month sometime, at the end of last month, that he will expedite rules around withdrawing your pension. So we start there, and that stirred some immense interest, with many assuming that they can cash out some of that pension money immediately. Not the case, really. You're going to have to wait for some time. Let's get some clarity now from Treasury Deputy Director General Ismail Momaniat. He joins us now. Momo, thanks indeed for joining us. Firstly, I mean, there was some confusion on whether pensions could now be partially withdrawn. Let's start there for clarity. Currently, as we understand it, the law does not allow anyone who is employed to withdraw a pension. Do I understand that?
Yes, Devin, in the morning. The law and the aim is that on your retirement funds, you should save it until the day you retire. We don't really want to encourage you to withdraw your funds before the day you retire. And in fact, the biggest problem we face is that South Africans don't preserve their retirement savings. What happens is that currently, there is a loophole in the law where you can withdraw all your funds when you resign or you retrench before you retire. And that's a loophole that we want to close. In terms of withdrawals, I mean, we'd like to, as I said, not encourage it, because you need to save for your retirement. And that's why we provide pretty generous tax deductions to encourage you to save and to leave it until the day you retire. Now, in terms of the withdrawals, that's a very limited amount of withdrawals that will allow in very specific circumstances. So the request that's come in is if, for example, your income has declined because of COVID, those are the kinds of exceptional circumstances that we want to look at for the immediate term. And I think, and this is not a new measure, I should add that it's something that's been part of our retirement reform, that there would be some limited withdrawals, but we're going to make sure that we close the loopholes that prevent preservation. And so what we're looking at is more in the medium term, where we want to create a two-pot system so that, let's say, if you are putting aside 12% for your pension fund, we're going to gradually get you to put maybe an additional 1 or 2%, say 13% or 14% every month. And that will go into a second pot. So there'll be a second pot for 2, 3, or 4%. Those numbers we're still going to determine. That will be for more short-term saving, and which, let's say, in 3, 4, 5 years' time, you'll be able to withdraw. So, but your pot for your main pension, you will not be able to withdraw. Now, that's in the medium term, over 5 years to the next 30 years or so. The measure that I think most are focusing on is, will there be any urgent or immediate withdrawals? And I think what our statement does is just to clarify. Firstly, to enable, that will be in very exceptional circumstances. Secondly, it needs a change in the law before that's allowed. And that's why we say that we will have some legislation to put the entire change into the system by the time of MTBPS, and it will then be legislated by sometime next year. And that's the first time the law will enable withdrawals. It will still be up to your fund about the mechanics of how that's going to be done.
And that's an important point, because we have this immediate sort of rush, something that you were guarding against when you spoke on this matter previously. So we've got to amend the laws around the access of that partial pension money. And as you say, more details coming up in the medium-term budget. Your point is that it has to have a legislative change, so it's not an overnight process. And as you point out, Deputy DG, the earliest that you could extract some of your pension money partially will only happen sometime next year, as I understand it.
Yes, and I'm hoping that people are not all waiting for that day to withdraw. The idea is that they need to save. And bear in mind, Devin, that when you withdraw, we also have taxes on withdrawals, because when you've saved the money, you've received a tax deduction on contribution. There's been no tax on the growth in your pension fund, and you only get tax on exit. So, the way the system is designed, the tax is very low if you wait till your retirement. If you have a rush, there's a higher tax that you're going to pay. So our hope is that people will not rush to withdraw their funds. And I would like to point out that it will still be under exceptional circumstances. We haven't worked out the criteria, but you'll have to, for example, we could say you have to prove that there's a reduction in your income before you're allowed to get access. And you won't get access to all of it. It will be a very small part of it that you'll have access to.
Why are you not allowing employees
for immediate access?
Yeah, if I can, why are you not allowing employers in the government pension fund to partially withdraw money? I mean, they've been excluded, and Kasatu this morning is not happy. Why that decision?
Well, I think that's precisely the point. Public servants like myself are fully employed. We haven't suffered a reduction in income under COVID. We continue to have job security. If we now allow those who are still getting their income to start withdrawing their pension funds, it goes against the very idea of saving for retirement. And we've all been allowed to have a tax deduction, as I said, to save. Now, if people assume that they can spend that money and not save, well, there won't be funds available for retirement. But that's a general picture. Okay, that if you're fully employed, you're unlikely to be able to withdraw funds for any pension fund, not just the GEPF. In terms of the GEPF, we must bear in mind the GEPF doesn't fall under the Pensions Funds Act. It has its own law that applies to the GEPF. It's also a defined benefit fund. Okay, so what happens for that fund is that the GEPF will have to change its rules and so on. And for any of these funds, there could be serious liquidity problems if they're just going to allow withdrawals, which, as I said, not only go against the intention that you need to save for your retirement, but will also have problems on the amount of funds they'll have to invest. It will have long-term implications, and immediate liquidity problems could also be a new issue for it.
We're going to have to leave it there because time is against us. But thanks very much indeed for those insights there, Deputy Director General at the Treasury, Ismail Momaniat.